David Moyes has been a little bit naughty when it comes to Ben Johnson. There's an old adage in business, in football and whatever, which says, I'm going to create an environment that makes it impossible to fail. I'm going to give you every opportunity that I can to enable you to succeed. The rest is down to you. That's not what David Moyes has done with Ben Johnson. No. He's actually given Ben Johnson a handicap in many respects. He's thrown him into situations where it's most likely that he will fail. In terms of feeding at the table, he's been feeding off scraps. He's been having the scraps been thrown down from the table. Yet despite that handicap, despite the fact that he has less of a chance and less of an advantage than pretty much anybody else in the squad, he's managed to impress. I think it first started on the final game, the penultimate game against Paqueta. Ben Johnson started at right back in that game. He was pretty good. And all you've got to remember here with Ben Johnson is you're dealing with a player in a period of convalescence. You're dealing with a player who's trying to repair his reputation. Make no doubt about it, he was awful against Brighton last season. And what we've seen since then is a period of him trying to repair his reputation, his career, and I think to a lesser extent, his confidence. But he's not been given the ideal opportunity to do that. So we get to Paqueta. Played really well, I thought, at right back. I say really well. All things considered, he was a 6 out of 10. He was doing absolutely fine. For some reason, David Moyes replaced him with Thilo Kehrer. I thought it was weird. If you go back and watch the review of that game, don't bother, by the way, but if you did, you'd see I was saying that then. It was a hard game for anyone to flourish in because there were a lot of changes in there. Then I think the next game that he really featured in was against Liverpool. This time he wasn't playing right back, he was playing left back. I thought he was the only player to come out of that 5-1 defeat with any credit. Actually, no, I'm sorry. Jarrod Bowen as well. He played at left back. We were missing Lucas Paqueta, but worry not, because actually Ben Johnson did a damn good impression of Lucas Paqueta by using his weaker foot, his left foot, and he curled the ball over the top and created a goal for Jarrod Bowen. He helped create a goal. Bowen still had a lot of work to do, but you get my point. He played very well. And there were a lot of players, I go and look at the player ratings, there were a lot of players who came out with 2s and 3s out of 10 in that game. Not Ben Johnson. He played well. But still, he was handicapped. It was a hard game to impress in. I felt that a lot of the time, I thought David Moyes threw that game. But he came out. Despite not being surrounded by a bunch of players and not having an environment created for him to succeed, I felt he was relatively successful in that game on an individual level. Let's move on to Bristol City, shall we? Again, I think one of the only players to emerge with any sort of credit. If you go to the most recent game of the two with Bristol City, he actually he came on as a substitute and he was our biggest attacking threat. This time from right back. I don't know why I'm pointing and wagging my finger at you. Got into the habit of that. From right back. And actually, when it got to the end, it was ridiculous. It was Ben Johnson, Emerson. If anyone was going to salvage that tie, it would have been one of those two. It was so impressive, and his redemption was doing so well. I was surprised not to see him start against Sheffield United. Surprised to see Soufal there. Soufal's not been in great form. But anyway, he didn't. Soufal started. And then what David Moyes wanted to do was get somebody off the bench. He chooses Ben Johnson, who he plays in central midfield. So I've just named 4 games there, and we're dealing with 3 separate positions. Right back, left back, central midfield. He's not a central midfielder. But I'll tell you what he was. Not only was he West Ham's best central midfielder when he arrived on the pitch and to play on the left side of midfield in the game against Sheffield United, I thought he was arguably West Ham's man of the match. You may give it to Danny Ings. I probably will, but there's not a lot in it. Had he been on another 5 minutes, I think he gets man of the match. You saw everything. You saw dribbling. He was the only player with any drive to carry the ball forward. It's not just about technique. There was a lovely Cruyff turn in there, don't get me wrong. It's not just about technique, it's about drive and desire to drive the team forward. Anyone else could have done that. They didn't. Ben Johnson did. He actually decided to carry the ball into the opposition's half. Yes, he made the tackles. Yes, he did the stuff that you'd expect him to do. He was heavily involved in the goal. There was a back heel at one point. We've seen a Cruyff turn. And then right near the end of the game, once Soufal had got his red card, Ben Johnson went over and covered for Soufal at right back. That that bit of wrestling at the end where we saw Jared Bowen get wrestled to the floor and it didn't go to VAR and we didn't get the penalty which we deserved, which should have hopefully made the game 3-2. It was Ben Johnson who put that crossover, a left-footed cross with his weaker foot. Two of the biggest pieces of skill I've seen from Ben Johnson this season have been with his weaker foot. What I would suggest to you is we're dealing with a two-footed player who's completely versatile in a number of positions, who's come through West Ham's academy and who's playing pretty damn well. He's in form. There's not too many West Ham players who are in form. Ben Johnson is one of them. And that's the story of this season. Well, that's the story on the football pitch of this season. Let me give you the story off the pitch. He's in the last year of his contract, 6 months left. Actually, Ben Johnson can sign a pre-contract agreement with a foreign club right now, and there's naff all that West Ham can do about it. There are a number of teams that are after the player, particularly on a free. He's highly coveted, he's highly sought after. Let's not forget that Ben Johnson was actually in the under-21 team that won the European Championships back in the summer. Well, he was in the squad. He wasn't always in the team. He played some fixtures. Played some of it at right back, played some of it at right centre back. So, just to reiterate, we've got a versatile player who's playing international football for the under-21s. Not anymore. He's too old to play for them now. I don't really know what else to say about that. We're struggling. We're struggling to tie him down to a long-term contract, or any contract, actually. Now, it appears that on the back of that game, where he played well in central midfield, West Ham have decided they're going to up the offer on his contract. I find this completely reactive. And it's not something I like. And I say this not with hindsight. I say this as somebody, if you watch my videos over the last few weeks, I've been saying Ben Johnson is a man in form. Ben Johnson should be given a new contract. West Ham may regret letting this player go. I'm not saying that Ben Johnson is a world beater, but I tell you what, he's one of West Ham's form players at the moment. And when we've got a lot of players out through injury and we've got players out in the African Cup of Nations and whatever, players out with suspension, he's one of the few who's standing up and being counted. Players gave up against Bristol City, Ben Johnson didn't. Players gave up against Liverpool, Ben Johnson didn't. And then you saw it against Sheffield Wednesday. In a completely alien position. The thing that worries me about that midfield, I'll get on to Ben Johnson again just in a second, that actually what you saw in the first leg against Bristol City, you saw Emerson move just for a little bit, move into central midfield, and he looked like our best central midfielder. And Souček and Ward-Prowse were on the pitch. In this game against Sheffield United, we saw Ben Johnson, another fullback, move into central midfield. He looked like our best midfielder. That's two fullbacks in consecutive games that have played in central midfield, albeit fleetingly for West Ham, and they've looked better than the actual central midfielders. If you ever want to know why David Moyes is pursuing a central midfielder in Calvin Phillips, you've got your answer right there. But again, this has been a problem. Central midfield is a problem. We've been saying it on Hammers Chat for quite some time now. It's not just us. I'm not claiming the observation to be ours. Don't get me wrong. When Alvarez is not playing, we're in trouble. All right? That's when we miss Declan Rice, when Alvarez doesn't play. Anyway, back to Ben Johnson, his contract. Now, apparently it came out the day before yesterday, as you watch this video. I'm recording it on Sunday night. You watch this video on Monday. So on Saturday it came out that Ben Johnson wasn't about money. It wasn't about money. Yes, he wanted more money. Yes, he wanted parity. But also what he wanted was assurances about first team chances. And for this reason, he could well go and make David Moyes look very, very stupid here. It has to be said. I am quite confident that whoever he goes and signs for, let's use Sean Dyche. We know Sean Dyche wants him. He's not the only one, but we'll use one example because it's a lot quicker than making 3 or 4. Sean Dyche gets him, plays him wherever he deems him he wants to play him, be him at right centre-back, maybe change the formation, maybe plays him at centre-back, maybe plays him at right-back or wherever else. But Dyche likes him. He's going to play him, and he's going to play him in pretty much every game. I am quite sure you give this kid, he's not a kid, he's a man, you give this man a run of 10 games, you're going to see him at his very best. West Ham haven't even seen him at his very best yet because we've not really given him the chance. And I'll tell you what, it'd be hugely embarrassing, I think, and hugely embarrassing for David Moyes. So what's it going to take? This little bit of schmoozing. Look, Moyes has got schmooze factor 0. We've said this before. But he needs to learn a little bit. He needs to learn a little bit of charm. And I'm not suggesting that David Moyes lies to Ben Johnson. There's a very, very simple thing for him to do it. We've been here before. Moyes is not keen to guarantee anyone first-team football. I understand it when you've got a signing coming in. I really do. If you've got somebody, if you've got Zuma there and you've got a Gerd there and you've got Mavropanos there and you've got anyone else and you want to go and bring in a central defender, for instance, you can't say, yeah, I can guarantee it. All you can say is, I'll give you a chance. But this is not the same. We're not comparing apples with oranges here. It's not like for like. It's what's happening here is you've got a player who has been at West Ham for years. He's earned the right to have a run in the team. He really has. And do you know what? Just to make it even easier for Moyes, this is a tap-in for Moyes. Vladimir Coufal is out of form. He was terrible. He lost his bottle. Let's be fair. He's a good, feisty player. He lost his bottle in both games against Bristol City. All right, he was pretty useless. He didn't lose his bottle against Sheffield United. Far from it. What he did, he had a bit too much bottle. What he did was he lost his composure. So we got a player that's out of form and suspended. It's really easy for David Moyes here. You make a promise and you stick to it. You turn round to Ben Johnson and say, what I'm going to do, Ben, is I'm going to give you, you sign this new deal, I'm going to give you the game where Soufal's out, and I'm going to give you the next 5 to 10 games afterwards. If after that you stink the place out, I may drop you, but I'm giving you the opportunity to impress you, to impress us and to prove your worth. And not just that, tell him he's done a bloody good job. Tell him. I tell you, I thought you were brilliant against Liverpool, actually. Everyone else was crap. You were good. I thought you were the one player that stood up and battled against Bristol City. I thought you almost rescued the game for us against Sheffield United. Let's be fair. He was on the game for minutes. He really was. He helped create the goal, which Danny Ings won the penalty from. That was him popping up on the left wing. He was brilliant in the middle of the park. And then we went onto the right side. He created a great chance for Jared Bowen, which should have been a penalty. And David Moyes needs to say this to him. Say to him, Ben, it was brilliant, mate. It was brilliant. It's exactly how I wanted you to play. Well done. You've recovered beautifully from what happened at Brighton last year. In fact, don't even mention Brighton. There's no point. But blow smoke up his arse. Tell him he's important. More importantly, guarantee him the chance. Just do it, Moyes, because you're going to look like an idiot if he goes somewhere else and he does really well. Particularly when it's actually, it won't be hindsight. Johnson has said this season, it's football. Yeah. You almost get the impression of whatever West Ham have offered, he's saying, I'll take that. I'll take the money. There's your offer. However, I just want to hear from the manager, if I may, just want to hear from him, that I'm going to get a chance in the first team. That's it. He deserves it. And every time I do a video about Ben Johnson, there will always be somebody that says Ben Johnson is championship level at best. I don't agree. I disagree, obviously. But I'm also not saying he's Champions League level. He's a bloody good squad player for West Ham. He's West Ham. He's come through the academy as well. He's been here since he was 8. He loves the club. And that's got to be worth something. There has to be some value. Yeah, there has to be some advantage for someone coming through the academy that they get a bit of a better reception, a bit of a better ride. The manager has to treat them a little bit better because they've proven themselves. The loyalty thing, the Moyes MOT, all the stuff, it's not even in question. Forget that. So what's it come down to? Is he playing well? Well, he is. He is playing well. Is he a great addition to the squad? Come on now. We've seen him play so many positions. Don't get me wrong. I would like to see him nail down one position. But he's someone that you can have on the pitch. If you want to switch formation, he's a great guy. If you want to stack some different players on your bench so as they can come on and you can, okay, that's all right. Ben might have started at right back. That's right. We'll put him at left back. We'll put him in midfield. We'll put him at centre back. He allows you flexibility in your substitutions. I mean, I don't understand what's not to like. I'm not saying we shouldn't go out. Listen, I think we should go out and we should improve on Vladimir Coufal. I really do. But that doesn't mean that we go and throw away someone that's come through our academy. I hope we get this deal tied down. But it's not just... this is not a charity case. I'm not just saying this so as we just technically can get Ben Johnson signed to a contract so we don't lose money on him. He's one of the few players I'm excited to see play at the moment. He is. He is. I'm looking forward to him. I think he looks good. I think he looks good defensively. I think he's got good technique, two-footed. I think he creates opportunities. I think he makes things difficult for the opposition. I think he's a really good player. And I think we'd regret it if we let him leave. But that's regret on our part. I do think that if David Moyes doesn't do what he needs to do, which is give him the assurances to get him to sign this deal and get him to stay and give him the chance, it'd be Moyes himself that's left with egg on his face.